dancing around the room. She was like, oh, I should put her in dance class. So my mom enrolled me in this school called the Harriet Hochter Ballet School in Woburn, Massachusetts, which was not too far from where we lived, Stoneham. And yeah, I immediately fell in love with it. The teacher, Mary Vassal, so she used to dance at Boston Ballet.
Okay.
And yeah, she immediately took a liking to me. She thought I was a good dancer. She, gave me solos. Like I felt like I was, so cool, like other people weren't getting them. Like she saw something in me that was, I guess good. So I was like, this is what I should be doing. I can excel in this. So yeah, I was with Mary until like I was 12, no, 11, probably 11, 12.
Okay.
No, 12. And then she said, oh, so I decided to audition for like the Boston Ballet's like summer program
Yes.
for 2 weeks, their 2 week summer intensive. And
Hmm.
I liked that as well. So then I think they approached me and they're like, oh, do you want to join our like professional level
Yes.
ballet track?
Hmm.
And that's like, and so I got into 5A, which is like the professional track. And there were 7 levels. So I was pretty close to the top. Like I didn't even have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I was at 5. So I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So I was there for 2 years. And, I had a good experience, but there were some issues. Like I was the only Black girl in the class, and this
Yes.
was a time when it wasn't Misty Copeland land yet. Like
Exactly.
it was like right before that happened. I feel like if I had been there, if I was, you know, if I was growing up now, I think I would have had more opportunity, or it would have been more open for me.
Yes. Yes.
So unfortunately, that's what happened to me. So, and my mom, was taking me to dance class, but did she know what to do with it? No, she wasn't a dancer, she was a teacher. So she didn't know how to push me to like the right places or what to do. Or some kids, they take private lessons. Like I wasn't doing that. I think
Oh.
I could have maybe, I mean, I did make a path for myself.
Mhm.
Had I known, well, everybody says this, had I known what I know now, it might have been even more. I might have been able to do more with what uh, at that time. Like I could have pushed myself, or, if I was around the right people.
That's interesting. So I'm just gonna just pause here. And
Mhm.
so in terms of the training of a dancer,
Mhm.
all right, you're saying, at a certain, like once you kind of know, all right, this is something that I'm very interested in, the next step would be to go to a pre-professional program. You also mentioned going to Boston, it was the conservatory or Boston Ballet,
Boston Ballet, yeah.
summer intensive. But you're saying even then you still have to do more.
Oh yeah, so because then when I was in level 5A, I was dancing like, well, people do more now these days, but I was like 2 hours a day after school, 5 days a week. So that was, um, you know, making me ready for that, professional job, perhaps. So, and I had those 2 teachers. One teacher, you had these evaluations once a year or so, and one teacher was like, oh, I don't think she has the right body type, like that.
And I
Cause like,
have to stop you there. I have to stop you there. She actually articulated that in an evaluation.
yes, yes, but this was before, you know, talking about people's weight was like looked at as like shaming, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or people's shape. It was okay to say these things, and like there were lots of eating disorders in dance world. You'll see that. I don't know if you've read about that, but there are tons of that. So yeah, and I'm at Boston Ballet, so one person, it wasn't that she said I was too fat, but she said that I didn't have the right shape for this potentially. But I had another teacher who she thought that I could do it. You know, she was like, oh no, like I think she has potential, right? Yeah,
Well,
so I went to the University of Hartford and I had a couple of like really amazing, well-known teachers in the dance world. So I had Ala Osipienko who danced with the Kirov Ballet, and um I got her for like a couple years. So like she like old school Russian. She's like she'll like point to people and be like pizza, pizza, pasta, pasta. Like stop it. But she would say to me, Janelle, star. That's what she would say when she saw me. But and then I had this other amazing woman. Her name was Peggy Lyman, and she danced with the Martha Graham Company. I don't know if you're familiar.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
she was like Martha Graham's like main person, like go-to
Wow.
person. So I got training from her um for, let's see, I had her for 4 years. Yeah. So to have
So
that, you know, training with those amazing people was pretty cool.
at Hartford, I mean, that's pretty impressive. This is all happening at the University of Hartford that
Mhm.
you're,
Mhm.
and so maybe you could speak a little bit about your modern dance exposure, because it's actually, pretty substantial. It's not just, going to Concord. You actually have some serious
Yeah.
modern training.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had, like I said, I had 4 years of Graham technique, 2 years, 4 days a week. I had her classes. Um, so that was pretty significant. And then the last 2 years, it was like 2 days of modern with her and 2 days of like other type of modern. Yeah, so I was like in love with Graham for a while. And I tried to like make my own technique. I don't know if I still have the like papers, but
Okay.
I was really inspired by her work. Um, but yeah,
So
I mean that that was, I guess, kind of popular at the time, but then I mean, there's still the Graham Company, and but people, the type of modern has changed now, so
maybe you
people,
could just speak a little bit about that. Like, what do you mean?
well, the type of modern they have now, it's more like called contemporary, and it's like not really like so structured. It's not like Graham is like ballet technique. It's like you have your pliés, your tendus, your dégagé, your rond de jambe. That's like ballet. You like go through these series of exercises like that. And that's what like Graham is like. It's like you do your like contract, like your floor work, and they're like specific um like sequences that you do, like I don't know if it's like 10 or 12, and then you stand up, and then there are specific sequences that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like ballet, but it's more like, you know, contracting, releasing, and that kind of thing.
So it's been, I don't know, like, contemporary, is it ballet or contemporary dance? That's your
Like,
saying.
well, there's contemporary ballet, which is like ballet in point shoes with like a little bit more, it's not so held and structured. And I kind of call myself contemporary ballet because I have had a little bit of that modern in there. And then I don't want to be too rigid. I want to be a little bit.
How long actually have you been a professional dancer? So, you leaving University of Hartford, um, is it 10 years? Is it 8 years?
I'm like,
I'm not trying to age you here. You can just,
I've been dancing professionally, let's see, I don't know, like 20 something years.
that's amazing.
Yeah. So
That's amazing.
I left,
Um,
I mean, I left University of Hartford, and my first job was, what did I do? I danced for New Jersey Ballet.
Okay.
That's how I got to New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was an apprentice there. And then you follow me down the coast of the USA. So I went to Jersey, and then from there I went to South Carolina. There I was like a backup dancer for an impersonator show. So I got a gig, I just was paid weekly. I had rehearsals, I was on stage, like I did like Elvis Presley, Tina Turner, and wore all these different outfits, and it was fun though. It was a good life uh with my students. So when I was teaching at BAA, um you have to audition to get in the school,
Mm-hmm.
and we offer ballet, and the modern they offer is Horton, which is like
Yes. Okay.
Ailey.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I didn't train in that, and they wanted that type of style. And so I struggled to like learn it and teach. I mean, I think I could teach it, but still, like, I honestly, like, I feel like because I like ballet so much, and because I'm like ballet, um, I wasn't like fitting into their, mold of what they wanted me to be as a teacher there. Um, I don't know if you can understand that, but they wanted somebody who was like Horton, like Ailey, like that kind of vibe. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
when I was at BAA, would I say that there's a couple students that would make it into a dance company? I'm not sure. Maybe like one or two, but they
Okay.
were like modern. They're like more modern, right? Um, Before my time, there were a few dancers that, one went on to Boston Ballet, a male, white. Uh, Another dancer, he's very good. He went onto like Dance for Complexions, which is a really good company out of New York.
Okay. Okay.
Um, a male, but I can't say that I know. Oh, maybe there was like one girl who went to Ailey who it was in the company. That's all I could say.
Um, why don't we have just more stories, like more ballet stories? Like everyone keeps doing like the same
Oh, like Nutcracker.
story. And the thing is, the American story is different. And I'm not talking about like Black people, like this is a country, we didn't have kings, we didn't have royalty, we didn't have these like folk tales, of ghosts coming in and like all these European stories. We have a unique history and story, and I don't understand why ballet, whether it's the Boston Ballet or San Francisco or New York or even like a small company, I don't understand why we don't do more American ballet stories that are specifically American.
Good point.
Oh, so it's not just me.
Yeah.
But I'm just noticing that, like, huh? Like, why?
I mean, I think maybe with ballet, it's hard to understand the storyline. So people pick ones that people know because it's hard for them to get it if they
Well,
don't know the story. It's hard to like explain that through so much through movement, I think. I don't know.
yeah, but I'm just thinking about like the Black Swan, the Giselles, like they all have a backstory. At some point, people didn't just figure it out by sitting there,
Right.
watching it. They,
Oh, that's
they were picking things that were in the consciousness of that culture.
you mean they like read the story before.
Yeah, like they knew the story.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the yeah, it was in their consciousness, it was out there, they kind of know the story, and now it's being put on stage, and that's fine. I've got nothing against classic ballet stories. My question is, well, okay, we all know in America about gangsters. And I'm not even talking about, the recent ones, like the Bonnie and Clyde stories. We've heard these stories. We've heard about cowboys and Indians in the wild, wild West. It's vast, the American story. Uh, why not make a ballet without some aspect of it? I don't know. Pocahontas? I don't know.
It's a good idea.
Like to celebrate our story. And again, I'm not specifically talking about, African American story. Like if a lot of classical ballet is, pitting like great themes, good versus evil, young versus old, all this other stuff. Well, we have the same, archetypes, but different. Like, why not, do a thing about, oh, those poor, Chinese workers and the fact, doing their laundromats and wanting to get out. That's a story. That's the same thing as wanting to, capture the attention of the king.
Right.
Or the queen or the princess or, whatever.
That's
It just fascinates me. Like, why are we talking about other people's stories and we're not talking about our stories? And kind of what you said, there's, you don't hear about French swagger, or the French swagger is way different from American swagger, and we understand it. The world understands it. That's why they watch all our movies. Come on, make my day. Like, such quintessential, like, American aesthetic, American vibe. And this goes back to my question when I asked you, do you really think there's a Black ballet? And maybe there isn't. Like, I can't even answer that question. But maybe what I am saying is, why don't we have more of an American ballet that takes in all of our different experiences? And we know these stories.
Yeah.
We all know the stories.
Right. Well, it's a good question. I don't know. People are into the, modern, like not really having like a defined story, or it's like abstract, or it's there is a storyline, but maybe we're not told what it is. I did do some I was asked by the Pro Arte Chamber Orchestra
Okay.
Boston to do at the Octoroon Balls by Wynton Marsalis. He composed a string quartet,
Okay.
and I did some research on the Octoroon Balls and
See, I think that would be fascinating.
yeah.
That would
Well,
be amazing.
I read before the dance, I like read the backstory for the audience, and then we performed that piece, and I thought about all the stories that I found. There was one like the Julie, who was the ghost of, at the Octoroon, or she was a ghost, and in the Louisiana, New Orleans folklore. So like there were like 6 sections of the dance, and like one of them was Julie, like the ghost. And yeah, so I mean, I tried to do that, but it's like hard. Like, it's hard to convey the story, especially if you don't have money and you don't have funding.
Funding. Like we're in a different age where we have Kickstarter, Yes, we have, the old ways, like cultural councils that give funding. But nowadays it's very diverse. It's very, very like diverse, the ways that you can fund this. And part of it is eventually you monetize your social media, blah, blah, blah. That's, different ways of approaching it. But I think I am going to come back to you about the Octoroon Ball. Like, you have me fascinated. I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
But that to me
And do
is exactly what I was getting at. Exactly what I'm
Yeah.
getting.
Yeah, so maybe,
And
I
it's
mean,
relevant. You know what I'm saying? And it's so relevant.
well, yeah. I can send you like the first section of that part, that piece. So.
Amazing, amazing. And so, like I said, this hopefully as I grow the audience, it's like a forum to like exchange ideas. Like there is somebody out there who can help you write a grant. All right, so I think I'm gonna like stop the recording, or it doesn't really matter because we'll edit it out. But this was great.